Welcome to Monster Men.
Oh, and we have a very special Monster Men tonight. It's like a special episode of Blossom back in 1991. Tonight, we are going to be joined by the Addams family. Don't click your fingers. This is not the Addams family you're thinking of. These are the filmmakers, Addams family. John Addams, Zelda Addams, and Toby Poser, who came on our radar when we reviewed the DBU Dig, and they have a new movie out called Hellbender, and we have a phenomenal conversation with them. Because you guys, we have you on. I do all my work up in this unfinished attic because I like the vibe. And I kept the lights off, so it's extra creepy.
Does it say Cadaver Tavern? Is it Cadaver Tavern?
Yes.
Let's make the movie.
Go for it. Hey, you guys are in the Catskills, right? You live up in the Catskills?
Where are you? Where are you both?
I'm in Yonkers, so I've spent
okay, cool.
a lot of time up there. We used to go to the Hudson Valley Resort and Spa for New Year's Eve. It's in Kershonken. Is that how you say it?
Sure. Yeah.
That place, we used to go there in winter. I used to say to my wife, this is the Overlook Hotel, East Coast. And that's when it was open. I can't imagine what it's like now.
Yeah, you know, it was really cool. For a while, all of the old Borscht Belt hotels were still standing. And those were magic because they were huge and they were like from the turn of the century on. And we even shot some stuff in them when you could still creep around.
Nice.
But now I don't think there's any left. They all just got too dangerous and they're all gone. But boy, you know, if you could have got in there and made a horror movie before they got knocked down, woo!
I used to drive by the Neville, and I would slow down by that gate and go, if I just jump over that gate, I can go in there. But my wife was like, you are too old to get arrested at this point. Just don't.
You're never too old to get arrested, especially for breaking into the Neville.
What I did, I wrote a book and I used the Neville as the basis for an old Catskills hotel. And I put like a Jason-like killer in it. So I was like, there we go. That's my way of going in.
Oh, that's so cool.
There used to be a Danvers State mental hospital. It was in Session 9. I don't know if you ever saw that movie.
Yes.
And I used to live up in Mass, and I still go up there a lot and see my friends. And before they tore it down, a friend of mine and I, one night coming home from a Red Sox game, he was like, you ever been to Danvers State? I was like, no. So we pulled off the highway. And he goes, I know exactly where it is. Parked the car, hiked up this hill. We're both like in our 40s at this point. We're huffing and puffing. And we get up there and sneak up and try the door. It's locked. We have no cell phones or flashlights or anything. We're just two idiots. And then a car, like a security car, went by. So I hide and my buddy takes off across a field. And I'm like, I sneak after him. I'm like, what are you doing? And he goes, dude, my car's at the bottom of the hill. All they do is check my license and they have us. Like, and I'm like, yeah, you're right. And if we get caught now, we're not going to get a smack on the hand, you dumb college kids. It's going to be, what are you two old idiots doing out here? You're going to jail now. So we left.
There's still actually, speaking of like empty, there's a great old psychiatry hospital near Kent, Connecticut.
Oh yeah.
That's would be also a wonderful empty place to shoot because it's beautiful. It's all old red brick. Do you know where I'm talking about outside of Kent?
I know where Kent is. I don't know where you're talking about.
Yeah,
we can send them there right after this.
Yes, exactly.
By the way, Toby and John, do you know Zelda? I want to introduce you guys.
Oh, hey, nice to meet you guys. How are you?
I feel a little worried though.
How you doing, Zelda? Thanks for coming on tonight.
Happily, thanks for having us.
I'm Jack, and that's Hunter.
Awesome. Nice to meet you guys.
Yeah. How many of these have you done so far? I just want to gauge how tired you are of doing it.
We're not tired at all. We can't wait to talk.
Never.
All right. We're a little different too. So, you know, we'll hit you with some weird questions.
Great.
We're already talking about breaking the law, so it's a great start.
Exactly.
So why doesn't everybody introduce themselves? And you're all wearing many hats in these productions. So tell us a little bit about what you do as well as who you are.
I'm Toby Poser, but we're the Addams family. And yeah, our film that's about to come out on Shudder is Hellbender, but that's our 7th feature, I think. And the one before that was The Deeper You Dig. And we all help write and direct, and we also act in the films. And if we're not in front of the camera, then we're behind the camera, although John and Zelda are really the best at that. And we have a really good time while we're at it.
I'm John Adams, and I love making movies with my daughters and my wife. It's an incredible joy. And I'm thankful to be here talking about horror, not just our movie, but all movies. And thank you for having us.
Yeah, hey, I'm Zelda. I'm 18 years old, and it's just been so fun getting to grow up making movies, and especially, growing up watching horror and ultimately getting to make horror. It's always been so fun. So yeah.
I love watching you all because I remember I saw Rumblestrips.
Oh my God.
That's meds.
Yeah. And I like watching Zelda, so teeny tiny, but I have 2 daughters too, and roughly the same age. So I'm just amazed that you guys can work together, because I can't get the 4 of us to agree on a restaurant, much less a movie. So when I know, Toby, that you acted before you guys banded as a family together, what got you to say, hey guys, guess what? Was it your decision to say, we're going to make movies together? Come on, kids, let's go. Let's get in the RV and shoot some stuff.
Actually, we were living, that was in 2008, we moved from New York City to Los Angeles. And we were there for 2 years, and I'd been acting in New York. But when I moved to LA, it was just kind of a dud, acting wise. And we decided to just kind of do it ourselves. Like, why wait for other people to cast me? Or the kids thought it'd be fun to act, and John had been on this reality TV show that kind of brought us out there, so he was around people in the industry, and everything was kind of pointing us into the direction of just doing it our own way and not waiting for anyone else to offer it to us. And so that's what we did. We got that old RV, Harvey the RV, we called it. We hit the road for a year, and together we just kind of learned the ropes and made Rumblestrips, and it was such a beautiful experience that we were hooked.
Now you say you were on a reality show, John. I used to watch a lot of these back in the day. Now I'm just stick to Real Housewives when I can.
Yeah.
There you go.
What was the show?
It was Real Housewives. I was one of them. No, it was a show called, it should have been Real Housewives. I would have been good. It was a show called Rock and Roll Acid Test. And it was on the Fuse channel. And basically it was like Mythbusters meets Jackass. And I was hired because I was in a punk band and they needed a jackass, wise ass character. And I fit the part and I was willing to do it. And it was a lot of fun. And I worked with a great crew of people. And unfortunately, it wasn't picked up. So it only ran, I think, like 12 episodes or something like that. But it did completely infect my desire. And it showed me, hey, this is something I want to do.
Right. Oh, thank God for that show.
Yes. It was so fun. I mean, I almost got killed on it a couple of times, and I really gained absolute respect for the Jackass crew.
Hey, imagine if you were making that Jackass money right now.
Yeah, but I'd also be walking around with all those broken ribs.
Yeah.
So,
Well, it would pay for all the physical therapy.
Yeah, maybe.
And the rehab and everything else that goes along with their lives.
I'm glad I'm pretending to cut off my head and stuff like that instead of actually doing it.
Yeah, smart move.
My introduction to you guys was The Deeper You Dig. And, we watch a million horror movies because every week we're doing podcasts and this and that. So you're always trying to find something different and friends are telling you. So I can't remember how I stumbled upon it, but I saw it. And it was one of those ones where I come back to the group, to report. And I'm like, have you guys heard of this movie? You got to see this thing. Like, it's like low budget, but it's like really well done. And I think it was filmed around here. Like, and I started, I'm like, there's like this guy, and he's like, it's gonna throw the body in the well. Like, don't throw it in the well. They're gonna find it in the well. And then he had a second chance to not, and he didn't take it. I was like, what the hell are you doing? I was like screaming at the TV, and they go, it's like really creepy. Like, where did this movie come from? And everybody was like agreeing as they watched it. So we did an episode on it.
Well, thank you. We loved making that movie. It was a joy. And Zelda came up with, I think, why that movie is fun. Do you want to say, or do you want me to say, Z?
Well, we kind of wanted to switch the roles of like the antagonist and the protagonist. Like we wanted to have a movie where you're kind of like, normally in a ghost story or a possession story, you know, the ghost doing the possessing is the antagonist, but we really wanted to switch those roles around and make the ghost the protagonist and just like a young little emo girl. That was fun.
Yeah. Let me tell, by the way, John, if we go from Rumblestrips to Deep Your Dig, Rumblestrips, we see you getting rapey with your wife. The deeper you dig, we see you murdering your daughter.
Yeah.
What's going on?
I think I got a couple things I got to work out.
Yeah.
But I'm working them out in Hellbender. Did you guys watch Hellbender? Or
no, we haven't seen it.
Oh, okay. Well, there you go. So we won't spoil it for you. Watch Hellbender and everything's going to come full circle. Everybody's cool.
All right, because I was going to offer my services if you wanted to talk. Do 1 hour a week.
I'll meet you at the Cadaver Tavern. I think there's a lot to talk about.
This is where all the therapy happens up here.
I'll bet.
I gotta say, it was like when you were, I remember turning to my wife and I was like, you know, that's his real life daughter that he's like, you know, snuffing the life out of. She's like, well, how do you shoot that scene? I'm like, well, you have a remove. There's a camera and you know that it's just acting, whatever. But like, it hit her really, really hard. She was like, I could never do that. I'm like, that's why we don't make movies together.
It was
a little difficult. Zelda and John were fine. Zelda's like, come on, do it. You know, you can go further, but I had a hard time myself.
Well, you all had these roles where then you had to like, you either got possessed or you were possessing, or like there was never just somebody who was just playing like one thing. And that's part, there was so many twists, like everything that happens with the identity of the guy who kills the girl. You don't expect that.
No.
But there were so many great moments of tension in that. It was just the way the accident happens. And then the placement of the sled for the rest of the movie was just like, you're just going, oh my God, it's right there. What the hell? Like, I'm telling you, I see so many movies that I forget them. And that's one that I'm like, I still remember everything from that movie.
Yeah.
That's cool.
Thank you for pointing out the sled. I think the sled was just such a great vehicle. Excuse the terrible pun, but it was a great thing to continue to keep the pressure on in the movie. And that blue color was just so perfect for it. It was just such a fun thing to have. As for like killing Zelda in the bathtub.
Yeah.
You know, Zelda and I had a lot of laughs. I mean, that was actually, it was interesting because I was demoing a house at that point. And so it was Zelda, you remember how cold it was and dirty, and the house actually had been like a house where these squatters were cooking crystals. So it was like a very nasty place. And so it already lent itself to this great, like just you can feel it on the film. Like you look at that house and it's a dirty, mean house. But we had a hilarious time actually filming that.
That's funny that you're calling that bathtub scene. You're calling that bathtub scene hilarious. And meanwhile, that was like, I was losing my mind during that scene because I'm like, wait, no, don't do that, you idiot. And it was like, oh, it's so brutal.
I just thought this is a small budget movie and that tub is as dirty as it looks. That's not like Hollywood dirt.
That was so beyond Hollywood dirt.
That's real dirt.
That's real dirt.
And when John pushed it out the window, we were like, damn, we better get this shot because there's only one.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's true. I want to know the dynamics of working together. first of all, Zelda, the fact, all the work that you do, all right, you're 18 now, and you've got the experience of people who are probably in their 30s at this point, which is great. Because what you're doing now is better than any film school is going to teach you. You're actually doing, like Roger Corman would be so proud of you. When you guys are working together, there has to be somebody who is like the taskmaster and somebody who is the head butter. Who would that be in your dynamic?
I want to hear Zelda's answer.
I honestly think it normally really depends on the scene. Like a lot of times, like we talk about the storyline together and I'll like come to terms like, what's the story about? Like how we want the order of things to be. But a lot of times I think one of us will take on like a perspective for a scene and say, oh, I think like I really have this strong vision of what I want to happen in this scene. Like in like for instance, in the bathtub scene, that was a lot of John being like, all right, you know, this is what's going to happen in the scene. So like, we'll go into that, you know, with one person kind of having a stronger lead on what they want to happen. But a lot of times, like when we start doing that shoot, the other people on set are like, oh, what if we did this? What if we, you know, said this a certain way? So we always start with one idea and then always end up having each of our three perspectives coming in and shoot it like 3 different ways a lot of times.
That's the beauty of being your own team.
Exactly.
You don't have a lot of people interfering with you.
Yeah, a lot of people ask if like we have disagreements a lot, or you know, who's the like aggressive one or whatever. But really, it's like we all have equal say in it. And if we do have a disagreement about what we want to happen, we just shoot it 3 different ways, and the editing process never lies. So
they're not being like Stanley Kubrick to Shelley Duvall in The Shining and trying to drive her insane and 1,000 takes. And
oh yeah,
it's so sad though, because it's amazing what they got together. So it's a terrible story because it kind of teaches us all the wrong lesson.
Yeah, and also does the end justify the means? No,
right. No.
And they can't when you're working with family. You can't do that.
Well, you know what? I mean, that's a good, I mean, that just brings us to the point of this is fun for us. This isn't a job. We're not Stanley Kubrick showing up at a job, cashing a big fat check. And we're not Shelley Duvall either. We're John, Toby, Lulu, and Zelda. And it's fun. And I'm so happy that you saw Rumblestrips, because you can kind of see where we started. Like that's half a diary of a family trying to make a movie, and it's half a movie. And that's what's interesting about Rumblestrips. We all kind of set out on this fun playground together. And I think that it's very important to us that it continues to be fun and not a job that you wake up to. That doesn't sound fun.
No, Rumblestrips is great. Watching it, because I rewatched it again and I said, you know what this feels like to me? The Florida Project.
Oh my God, great. Cool. Wow, what a compliment.
But not as dire. The Florida Project just leaves you broken in tears. At least there's hope at the end of that movie, of Rumblestrips. The end of Florida Project kills me every time.
Yeah, it's tough. It's tough.
It's funny, you know, our dynamic hasn't changed that much since Rumblestrip. It's funny because we still wear every hat. Sometimes we have a little help, mostly with our honorary fifth member, Trey, who does our special effects, but it's still a lot of the same dynamics of how we used to work in Rumblestrips. We still do now, which is kind of beautiful.
There's a lot of footage of people running from the camera that they started to the scene. Like for every minute you see, there's 10 minutes of somebody running to get on the set, and then saying, do I look the same as that? Yes, okay, you look okay. You know, so it's pretty funny. If we ever do a documentary, it's gonna be called Waiting on a Cloud, because we also like to shoot. We've learned that it's best to shoot in flat light. Like for our purposes, we love flat light. And so we only shoot on cloudy days, but sometimes, you know, there's a cloud and then 5 minutes of no clouds. So we spend a lot of time sitting outside, whether it's the winter or whether it's raining or waiting on a cloud so that we can shoot. Okay, there's a cloud. Everybody shoot. Let's go. It's pretty great. It's a great way to hang with your family.
Yeah. I mean, seriously, I mean, I think you guys should write a book when you're done about how to raise teenage girls. This is the best way to do it. Jump together with a mutual project where you're not butting heads all the time. You know,
and right, and you're all slaughtering somebody.
You get it all out.
That helps. The slaughtering part really helps.
Yeah.
How do you guys handle sound and miking in all these outdoor locations and meth houses and things like that?
That can be difficult. That's probably the most difficult thing about how we film. But basically we have a rock and roll mic stand with a big heavy bottom, and we have 2 Sennheiser mics and 2 Zooms. And the Sennheisers have pretty good wind things on them. I don't know what they're called, but they wind socks. And
wind socks, yeah.
But it can be pretty difficult. That can be very difficult because, you know, the difference of the sound of a mic 1 foot away from somebody and 3 foot away from somebody is different. And then 6 feet away is even more. So that can be very time consuming sometimes, especially when you want a more dynamic scene where there's more action and people are moving around. That can be quite hard.
I will say though, it's really cool. We do like make our own, you know, sounds and soundtracks and sound effects. And there's a lot of times like where I'm walking up the stairs and there's like a cool like squeaking noise from the wood. And John's like, wait, step on that stair like the same way again. And he goes and grabs the mic and records it. And it's just so fun because with some warping, we can get a lot of the sound effects that we have like in The Deeper You Dig and Hellbender.
Yeah. By the way, speaking of Hellbender, you and your mom are in a band called Hellbender, which I love the fact that you replace the E's with 6s. So you got the 666, which is tremendous.
Come on, hell, Satan, let's go.
Yeah. Now, how long have you guys been doing that together? And are you performing in clubs? Well, I don't know. It's COVID now. Who does anything anywhere?
We've made music together as a band for a long, long time. You know, John and I, we had a band called Kid California a couple years ago. When I was like 12, we were premiering one of our movies in Texas, and we had a live show there, which was really fun. And we played a couple of shows in New York City, but otherwise we haven't played live since. Right, John?
Yeah, that's correct. I mean, I think because of the fact that we are relentlessly busy making films, it's a little hard. Plus, Zelda and I were a duo. We were called Kid California, and it was really fun. It was completely inappropriate because all the lyrics were my punk rock sentiments. So it was like all just completely, we were playing, but it was funny because people liked us, but it was, you know, completely inappropriate. Here's this.
I heard Zelda and Lulu, what was coming out of their mouths as little children.
Yeah, exactly. But it was a lot of fun. But because of the movies, you know, pulling off relentless live shows as a live band is really difficult. Now with Hellbender, we got Toby singing and we got Lulu singing, and people are asking us to do live shows. COVID, we just were booking a whole bunch of live shows, and then COVID canceled everything. So we'll see what happens with the live stuff. It looks like COVID's gonna like let us all be free again.
Yeah, you're up by Daryl Hall's house. You can ask him if you can slide in there.
I know that he lived up here.
Yeah, he's got a studio up there, and he has some of the best musicians in the world come in and just jam with him.
He does.
Yeah. You should look it up on YouTube, Daryl's house.
Wow.
Oh, okay. Do you know what town it's in?
I think he's closer to Woodstock.
Yeah, I think he's in Bearsville, right?
Yeah, somewhere up there. But aside from the show that he did, he also just puts on live shows. People come out there and they sit at picnic tables and sit on the grass and just watch them jam, which is
Woodstock
unreal.
Has a great scene. They got a great music scene. There's some terrific recording studios over there.
Look, just from my knowing where you're from, it makes sense. Like that you guys are creative and you have like this passion. It's just, there's something about that region that just attracts creativity. Maybe it's coming out of the mountains. I don't know what it is, but you can't turn a rock, like throw a rock anywhere direction, not hit somebody who's like, I'm a painter, I'm a writer.
It could be all that good bathtub meth.
You know, I think it does have something to do with a lot of isolation. we live where we live, we're isolated. And that means a lot of time, and we don't have a TV, and our internet sucks. So you're left with, okay, let's write a song, let's record a song, let's go shoot a scene, let's cut an arm off. Come on.
Wow.
Yeah.
So you don't have a TV. That's incredible. Good for you.
It's a lot of spending movie nights together, huddled in a bed, watching like a movie or TV on a small computer screen, huddled together like sardines. But you know what? That's the best way. It just makes us closer, literally.
That's why you're close. Exactly. I agree. You know what? My family grew up in a small 2-bedroom apartment. There were 4 of us, and people come like, how do you guys even function in this space? We're like, I don't know. And I think we're closer because of it now.
Yeah. Yeah.
Jack, I'll let you get a word in. I'm sorry.
I want to know about Hellbender. Who wrote it? Where did the idea come from? I saw the trailer. It's not available yet. It's coming on Shudder like in 2 weeks or so.
That's right. Yeah, on the 24th. Yep.
And I watched the trailer a couple of times the other day and then again today, and it looks awesome. But I'm kind of pay attention and I kind of don't want to know too much. Yeah. But it grabs you. So what's kind of the synopsis and how did that happen? And let's hear about that.
Cool. Well, it's a coming of age story. I think both for the teen in the movie, which Zelda plays, and also for the mother in a way is coming of age as well, because Hellbenders are not exactly human. They're one step above the food chain, and they're pretty powerful, like bitchin' women. And they live on this remote mountaintop, rocking out. They're in a band, and secrets are revealed that the mother doesn't want revealed because they come from a very ancient, powerful matrilineal descent. And I think in the end, I won't give too much away. I think we want the viewers to wonder, well, who am I really siding with here? Because the mother tries to protect the daughter. The daughter wants to be her true self, and that's a powerful self to contend with.
Right. I mean, I can't wait to see it because I want to see more of the interplay between you and Zelda, which I know you've heard that people said you didn't get a lot of that in The Deeper You Dig. So I'm really psyched to see that, especially seeing how close you guys are. Yeah. And I'm sure that there's going to be some acting in there. So
it was so fun getting to build upon that relationship and, learn from The Deeper You Dig, that relationship in that movie, and build upon that and build upon just our natural relationship as mother and daughter in real life. So I think that you'll really like that in Hellbender.
Zelda is killer in this movie.
Literally.
No pun intended, but so good. John has a really fun cameo in this film, but it is a very kind of a female-based story, and Zelda is she's always good, but she's exceptional in this one.
One of the things we learned from The Deeper You Dig, from critics and audience members in the festivals was a lot of people said, hey, I love the movie, but I really would have liked to see a little more of that mother and daughter relationship. And so we were like, hey, that sounds great to us. Let's do that. And so it was a really fun movie for me to stand behind the camera and watch these two do this relationship thing. It's a lot of like fun. Like, it's a horror movie and it's got some great blood and guts in it, but it is, and well, I hope that it's fun. We had fun making it, and it seems like people are having fun watching it, and we hope that continues.
The trailer looks wicked. Like The Deeper You Dig is like that quiet horror, but not so quiet that you can't hear it. This looks like slap your face. Here we go.
Yeah, what struck me was in Deeper You Dig, the mother particularly visits that, I don't know, for lack of a better word, the voodoo guy, and she goes down an occult road, and there's a lot of freaky stuff that happens with her visually and spiritually and all that. And I felt like this was like, oh, they're doubling down on that in this one.
Yes. We got great feedback. Those were in The Deeper You Dig, that was like the 7 circles. And basically it was a metaphor for the 7 circles of grief. And we wanted to find a way, instead of sitting around and, doing like talking about grief, we wanted to show them in the cinematography. And so we had the 7 circles. And people enjoyed that. And we were very thankful that that happened, because that gave us artistic license to be more creative in our next movie. So definitely in Hellbender, we take that permission that audience members gave us, and we go further with it. And it was a lot of fun.
Yeah, I think with The Deeper You Dig, we learned a lot about exploring that supernatural realm. And I think that we do it better in Hellbender, and like make usage of a lot more like special effects and colors to really push home that like supernatural, you know, occult idea that I'm excited for you guys to see.
I can't wait. Now, I've heard Lulu doesn't like to be in front of the camera. So how much convincing did it take to get her to play a role here?
I think she had a lot of fun with it. It didn't take much. We were traveling around because, you know, COVID was going down. So she was living in Oregon, and we actually were traveling around for over half of the year in a trailer, and we got to go out there and shoot with her. And she ends up being an amazing scream queen. Like she gets to go through some pretty cool stuff. And she's really good at it. And she's also just brings something to the film that I think it really needed. She's so sunny and bright, and she brings something incredibly energetic and funny and a little irreverent to the film. She's great.
A lot of times independent films, they depend a lot on story and acting. And that's usually where they completely unravel. You know, you might have one, nothing of the other, half and half. You guys have great stories, and you're all such good actors. I mean, you're all so convincing. It's pretty remarkable.
That's incredibly cool. Thank you so much. It's so fun to do, you know.
It's I think a lot of credit goes to Toby, because a lot of times John and I are talking about, oh, you know, we want to cut someone's head off. We want to cut Kurt's head off in The Deeper You Dig. And then we go to Toby, and Toby's like, well, let's figure out storyline wise, we want this to happen. How is this good for the narrative? Toby's really great at making sure we're basically making a drama story, but, you know, covering it in blood, having like the horror, events in it.
Always listen to Mom.
It's so true. She also she loves having little circles that she completes. And that's really fun. It's very important to Toby that we don't just leave things open or do things for no other reason. Like, and it's fun. Sometimes she'll be like, we really have to shoot this particular thing. And I'm kind of like, why? It seems so like, what's the point? And she's like, it matters later. It matters a lot later. And those things will really pay off, especially for the horror crowd, because the horror crowd pays attention, and they want those circles completed, and they want those Easter eggs left there, and they are paying attention to them. And that has taught me a lot. Toby already knew that, but the horror crowd has confirmed that that's so important.
I can't tell you how many movies we've watched where one of the people in the conversation goes, you know, all they had to do was one little line of dialogue to explain that thing, and I would have been cool, but they didn't. So that was bothering me the whole time, you know, and then the rest of us were like, I wasn't even thinking about that. But that one, but that got me thinking. I like the improv. I understand the methodology, like Curb Your Enthusiasm. They're not making it up as they go, but they don't have a script. They know they need to get here to here, and the beats they need to hit. But once you do that, how important is the editing, and how much does it change once it gets into that phase?
That's a good question.
That's a fantastic question. So we have a big advantage.
He gets one a year.
We have a big advantage that we get to go home in the evening and throw everything on the computer screen and quickly look at it. So we can do a quick rough thing and see, do we have this? Is this going to make sense for the final edit? And it's usually very obvious if we don't. And so that's the answer to that, is we can get up the next day and just return to wherever we were, and just get what we didn't get, or change what wasn't done correctly. And that happens a lot.
Right. I mean, I guess that's the beauty of being able of doing it yourself. You can check your dailies. and you can react to it and move quick. You can pivot easily the next day because like, all right, we don't need a crew of 100 people that we have to organize to change this.
100%.
In a way, the hardest can be continuity. Like just the other day, Zelda's been down in the city and John and I were shooting something and I'm wearing a blanket in it. And then I was trying to concentrate really hard, remembering where I'm holding the blanket, closed or open. But it can be hard when you're thinking of like, what do I want to express in this scene? You know, we didn't have a quite fully written scene. You know, it was 10 degrees out. I'm shoeless. And it was just, it can be hard to think about all those things. And I remember John saying, are you sure you're holding your hand the right way? And I was like, yes. And I wasn't, you know,
right.
And it's like after a certain amount of movies, you think you would know those things, but that can be the hardest when it comes to, you know, kind of going with the flow.
Hey, even Kubrick, he had continuity people.
Yes,
right? They have people that's all they look for, and they still mess up.
Yeah.
They mess up all the time.
Well, even the methodology you were just talking about reminds me of if you watch like the making of Jaws and how Spielberg is watching it and he's like, I need to go and throw the head coming out of the boat. He was like, I want to add this. They're like, you don't need it. You know, it's like, no, I want that. You know, or how stuff wasn't working, but then they add the music and suddenly it works unbelievably.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's interesting that you bring up music, and we've talked about it before. Music does so much for a scene, you know, and it does, like, we learned that Zelda and I made a little horror movie. The first horror movie we made was called The Hatred, and that was our first foray into horror, and it was kind of an experiment. And one of the things we very quickly noticed was, like, it was a super freezing cold winter, and we had filmed all this ice dripping off of these cliffs. And so I had this ice footage, but I mean, it didn't play into the story at all. It just looked really awesome. So I filmed it, looked like monster teeth. And I came home and I put it up and I was like, God, that looks so good. And I was like, let me just see what some sounds sound like under it. And I put this drone sound on and suddenly I was like, oh my God, like that's amazing. And it was really fun because when we got on the festival circuit with that movie, people pointed out, loved the icicles, like loved that. And it's like, and it was such a relief because it was like, well, oh, this is great. The audience is reacting to like this beautiful footage and a sound, and it's terrifying. And it was repeatedly brought up. And so it was great for us.
I'm telling you, you remind me of Roger Corman. I was going to say the early days, but he's still doing things like this. Like, yeah, here's $500, shoot a movie. And, you know, I got some footage of this over here. I've got Boris Karloff. He owes me 15 minutes over here. And you put it together. But the thing is, you guys, it just looks so professional. Like, one thing I love is your use of space and the scenery that you take a lot of like wide shots, and they're always, I mean, they're beautiful. I know it's where you're shooting because you're shooting in a nice place like the Catskills and out on the West Coast and stuff like that. But it comes through because it makes the movie, makes it look beyond what people will think of as an independent movie or a movie done by a family, which is absolutely mind-blowing to me.
It
looks way bigger in scope.
Thank you.
Who's responsible for that? Is that you, Zelda?
It's all of us together. I mean, but I mean, we like to say that, you know, nature is a leading role in our movies. Like, so much of our like storylines and, you know, everything are based around nature. Nature gives us so many gifts. So we really just want to show it off as best we can. It just wants to be seen. And she's a free actress too. So we definitely try to use as much of her as possible.
That's right.
Wonderfully temperamental. And so all you have to do is, like, she shows up and sometimes she's super angry. So you better get your camera rolling and keep your boots tied, because this is a storm you want to catch, because it could be sunny in a second and then we can't film. And so a lot of the time we're like loving our temperamental actress.
But
this is like me loving my temperamental oldest daughter.
That's exactly right.
She's very much like nature. She's a force of nature.
Zelda has brought a lot of movement to our films. starting with The Deeper You Dig. But then especially with Hellbender, because Zelda wanted more movement in our films. We really just had, a tripod in The Deeper You Dig to move it, sort of left and right. But with Hellbender, we got a drone and we also got a gimbal, the Ronin gimbal. And so, which she operates both of those. And we added some more movement. And those were some fun toys for us. And you'll have to see what you think about it in Hellbender if you like the added movement and drone footage that we have.
Oh, we're going to come back and tell you.
Great.
Listen, I'm still having trouble talking to Zelda because I just keep hearing you as the ghost messing with the guy in the house. And I keep waiting for you to like disappear and show up somewhere else.
Or pull a little hi and then walk away.
Yeah,
exactly.
I just need some lipstick and here we go.
But then you would go from that to the mother wandering around the town looking for her daughter. And that was the setting, you had the isolated house and all that, but then the town itself and just like I said, that imagery of her and like watching the car go by and things like that. Really,
that's what I mean about nature just wanting to be filmed by us. Like the town that you're talking about, the really lonely town, that's the town that we live in. That's the town that I, went to school in. So everything is just perfectly placed around us, just craving to be filmed. And it just, so much of our storylines and everything are based around like where we live. It's the most isolated place ever. So it definitely affects our storyline a lot.
And we're very lucky that our community embraces our madness. Like people are used to us filming on the sidewalk and they don't come out and say, what the hell are you doing? They know exactly what we're doing. If we ask, can we shoot in a diner? Yeah, sure. Can I be in it? Yeah, absolutely. We'd love for you to be in it. Like,
that's great.
Super loving community that likes our madness.
See, we have the opposite. We're in the New York tri-state area, so what we get is everybody's filming everything, but it's not for movies. It's for TikTok and Facebook and, it's Instagram models or, somebody in my parking garage. There's somebody doing a photo shoot, our parking garage. I'm like, what the hell is in there?
You'll find no TikTok going on in this house. By the way, I wanted to say my two favorite scenes in Deep Your Dig is Zelda, when you're hovering and talking to Toby. But my favorite scene in that whole movie is Toby, you were giving out the flyers. Have you seen her? And when you're walking on that road, and you just drop the bag of flyers.
Oh, thank you.
Heartbreaking.
Oh yeah.
I'm like, she knows.
That was a great detail. I got to say that, like, talk about circles. That was a Toby circle. The whole flyer thing was super important to her. And I think I even maybe said a couple of times, I don't know, you talk about these flyers a lot, but in the end, what Toby did with those flyers, like Kurt puts down the blue tarp and the rope on top of the flyers. I mean, come on, how much weight did that carry? And it's like, without a word, there's so much terror and horror and just guilt and sadness all wrapped up in one simple 6 frames of shot. And then the whole idea of her going around and yes, just like you say, there's a turning point when she's like, out goes the bag of flyers. And without a word, these are things that Toby said, oh, we're going to do this. And it was like, great. And the payoff of those simple images was so heavy.
It's crushing because this is where a mom realizes I'm not going to find my daughter alive.
Right.
And
it's
so depressing.
She tap into her back into those, instincts, those sort of psychic instincts of hers. I'll be it was, and this isn't to be like a sad sack whatsoever, but The Deeper You Dig was a super personal film for me, and it's one of my favorites because I myself was going through a reproductive cancer while we were shooting it. Oh. Like literally the shot where I'm on the road yelling, "Echo, Echo." I had just had a hysterectomy the day before. And I was like, I don't need to sit around, I'm fine, let's go shoot. It became very personal for me. And the writing, I think it infused the writing with something deeper than it would have otherwise, because it sort of became a metaphor for this mother losing her daughter was sort of symbolic of what I was losing, you know?
Yeah.
And so that film is personal, and it's a favorite of mine.
Yeah.
And wait till you see Hellbender, because right before we filmed Hellbender, she found out that the father that she thought was her father all these years, turns out that he wasn't.
Oh my God.
Oh my.
And no, and that's not to say that the father that did raise her wasn't the most beautiful man and father anyone could ask for, but it wasn't what she had believed all these years. So it was kind of like, well, holy moly, who's my father? And we had this day where her mom, on her, like basically on her deathbed, say, Toby, I need to tell you something. And she says, you know, he's not your father. And Toby and I walked out to the car parking lot in the hospital, and I was like, holy shit, that was heavy duty. And she laughed and was like, yeah. And I was like, I mean, I can't even believe we're like, it was like, you know what? It was beyond anything other than you had to giggle, because it was just like, what can we do? Let's giggle.
Yeah.
And then did she say, let's use this? Let's go film a scene right now.
Well,
I mean, flyers.
No, right, exactly. But no joke. It was suddenly like, well, maybe your dad's the devil. We should make a movie about your dad being the devil. Or no, let's make it about Zelda's dad being the devil. Oh my God, this is a great idea. Let's make a movie called The Devil's Daughter. And then we were like, wait a minute, the devil's a pretty massive thing to try to tackle.
We don't have the budget for that.
Yeah. Let's take a slice off the devil's toenail and make a movie about that. And that's how he came up with Hellbender.
That's incredible. All right, so we're just gonna, from now on, just whatever hardship Toby's going through, just wait for it to happen.
Oh my God.
What do you got now for us, Toby?
Well, I don't want to give away our new movie we're working on.
Oh God.
I don't want that to happen.
Yeah, let's hope that's not prophetic.
All right, good.
How's the relationship with Shudder? Is that a thing, or is it that a movie by movie?
Oh.
Yeah, well, The Deeper You Dig was put on streamed on Shudder, but this is the first time we've been working with them and in communication with them, and they are just wonderful. They totally embrace us as the family that we are. They love to trumpet that. They're just a pleasure to work with, and from every angle, we couldn't be happier.
Yeah, we noticed that the crowd over at Shudder, the prescription buyers, they had a very positive reaction to The Deeper You Dig. And so when Yellow Veil found us, what did I say, something stupid?
I just like that you're like prescription. Shudder is good medicine.
It's very good medicine.
Carry on.
Chills me out whenever.
At least he's not correcting my grammar, which is probably terrible.
We OD on it all the time.
Can you guys correct my grammar in editing? You can correct my grammar, right? Make me
Sure.
I think iMovie has a spell check.
Right. We love the crowd over at Shudder. They're a great prescription service crew audience. And so when they approached us, we were like, yes, like we were so thankful that Shudder picked up Hellbender right from the start.
Yeah. Now we've interviewed other directors who have done movies with Shudder. I have to ask you this. Since you've done a movie with them, have they given you a free subscription yet?
We bought one before we already have one. We're
going to fight on behalf of all the directors that we talk to at Shudder. We're going to get you all free subscriptions eventually.
Hey,
that's
that
one
would
of
be
my
nice.
goals.
Thank you.
Yes.
We like the way you think.
Yeah, I mean, come on. You're giving them a movie. The least you could get is a $60 subscription. Come on.
I'm liking this.
Yeah, well, we'll fight for you. Trust me. I'm very interested in, usually people start making movies, and this has been traditionally, they cut their teeth in horror movies, right? That's usually like, it's the gutter, it's horror movies, just film whatever. And we're talking writers, directors, actors, Kevin Bacon, Friday the 13th. I mean, George Costanza in The Burning. But you've gone the other direction. So you kind of like, you honed your skills and then you went to horror. So what made you take that? Because I wondered if you were just going to do The Deep You Dig and then be like, all right, well, we're going to go back. Maybe we'll try a romantic comedy or something like that. But I like that you're leaning into the horror thing because selfishly, it's what Jack and I love most. But what made you go in that direction.
Well, first of all, are you saying that The Deep You Dig's not a romantic comedy?
Oh, it's so romantic.
Okay, good, because I was just thrown off there for a second. Zell, what do you think, kid?
Yeah, I think it was like in 2014, 2015, I was like maybe 12 or 13. Toby was working on a script. I think it was a drama, but so she was working on a script and John and I were like twiddling our thumbs like, oh God, what do we do now? And so it was kind of like, I think we were like, hey, like, let's make a horror movie. Because I was like, hey, what if we made a movie about me just killing a bunch of dudes? That would be fun. And so we kind of turned that into like this timepiece story. And we made like an hour-long dark horror poem, we like to call it. It was so fun. And then, submitted it to some festivals, got in, and started like associating with the horror crowd, and everyone was so nice and so welcoming and like loved what we did. So then we decided to like all make a horror movie together under like the name of Wonder Wheel Productions, and that's where The Deeper You Dig was born. And we went into the festival circuit again, and we realized that we just love the horror genre. After making 4 dramas, it was kind of tough because they didn't get a lot of attention, like if they didn't have Brad Pitt in them, or you didn't have like, the budget to hire like, a bunch of famous actors. And with horror, you can do whatever you want. You can make whatever rules you want. You don't have to have a celebrity in it. It just has to be horror and fun or whatever. And there's so much artistic freedom. And, the horror community is just so great. And I don't think that we want to leave.
No, this community will love you forever. For the rest of your life, you'll be invited to one of the 1,000 horror cons around the world. And people will pay good money for you to just sign a headshot. That's it.
You know what
You're
else?
set for life.
You know what's great about the horror crew and horror con and all this stuff is ultimately, well, at least we think of horror movies as dramas just covered in blood, because and those are the ones we like. Like there's all different kinds of horror movies, right? But I think as a family, well, I'll speak for myself. I really enjoy the ones that tell a story that I can follow, and then it's filled with terror or filled with horror, or even just has to have a glimpse of terror and horror. But I do like to follow like The Night House, or, it's like Hereditary. All these are Hereditary is a movie about a family in grieving and family secrets. And then you knock some kid's head off and it's a horror movie and it's great. And that's what's fun about it, And it's like,
and then it goes all crazy J horror at the end. You're like, what the hell?
What's going on?
Wait,
what happened? Movie's over. It's like, Toby, tell me what happened. Explain to me what just happened.
That thing just floated out of the treehouse.
Right, exactly. And,
go quick on Hereditary though. That just rung a bell with me. It's not to the same extent as Hereditary, because that little surprise with the telephone pole is like you walk out of Hereditary like, oh my God. But there was a little bit of that in The Deeper You Dig with I think it's because of the bathtub scene.
Oh yeah,
because they're like, not to Monty Python this, but I'm not quite dead yet.
I feel much better.
Right. Bring out your dead.
You had that was like that moment in it, but then you had little other moments like where the guy goes to the bathroom and sits down. Little details like that.
So fun.
Yeah, those things are fun, and that's what's fun about horror is you get to do that. You get to have creative metaphors. You get to do those things in horror. It's like Zelda pointed out, creatively, it's a much wider canvas. And rule-wise, you don't need permission to do anything, but you do have to believe in what you're doing.
And I will tell you, as someone who's been writing horror for decades, it's about the people. It's never about the monster. It's never about the ghost. It's about the people. And I think that's where you guys nail it.
Oh, thank you.
Oh, that's great.
But also, like, we just watched For the Sake of Vicious on Shudder, which is like a home invasion movie. That's a really fun kind of grindhouse horror movie, really violent, hyper, and it's a blast. But the preface of talking about that movie is like, okay, well, it's like a standard home invasion movie, but this, with this twist. What I didn't see with Deeper You Dig is like it's you call it like a ghost movie to some extent, but you're not following like a real traditional trope.
Good. I think that's very. Oh, go ahead.
That's really important to us that I think we like to watch a lot of movies and be influenced by them, but at the end of the day, it's almost like we want to forget half of what we've seen because we don't want to be so influenced that we feel like we've got to do the same things. It's almost like a little bit of ignorance works for us because we just want to make things fresh and we want to kind of make our own rules. For sure.
Ignorance is bliss.
Oh yeah, right now ignorance is bliss. Right now we're doing a movie called When the Devil Roams. It's set in the 1930s, and we like to say that it's Bonnie and Clyde meets Frankenstein with a touch of family love and love for murder. But what's important to us is like you can't copy Bonnie and Clyde. There's got to be some new twist to, well, how can we make Bonnie and Clyde a little more interesting? And then further, I think most importantly is how can we make Frankenstein a little more interesting? How can we try to, not that Frankenstein itself isn't completely interesting, but you can't redo Frankenstein. So, it's like, what do you do to make that idea of body parts and rot and all that, how do you make that brand new for somebody?
Right. No, I love the title of this movie.
Thank you.
When is this coming out? Are you shooting this right now?
We are, because it's cold and crazy. So of course.
Yeah.
All right, we're gonna be ringing your doorbell when that one's coming out to have you back.
Yeah, sure.
I put you in the movie.
Yeah, exactly. If you ring our doorbell, we'll cut your arm off and film it.
Go right ahead.
Throw it onto this.
Let's go.
You can have all my parts. They're worthless anyway.
If you need extras, I don't know how long a drive it is. It's not that far.
Trust us. You will. Yes.
You know,
we will be covered in chocolate syrup.
We could be like the two cops in The Deeper Your Dig.
Right.
Did one of them have an ear gauge?
Those guys actually are real cops.
Oh, they
really?
Uh-huh.
Wow.
They're the
well, one looked like a cop. One looked like, all right, he's straight out of like Law and Order. The other guy, I think he doesn't look like a cop at all. He looks like
NYPD.
Undercover.
Yep, NYPD undercover, and then the other was a local state trooper that grew up in our town.
Right, that's so cool.
Yeah.
Is there a line of people who want to who know you, who are like, all right, when am I getting in one of these movies?
Yeah, a lot of people do want to be in the movies, in our movies, and sometimes they are. In the prologue of Hellbender, there are 15 women, local women. Basically,
Zelda's soccer team's moms. Like on the sidelines, it's like, would you mind coming and hanging somebody for our movie? Oh, I'd love to.
The soccer mom coven.
There on Wednesday, exactly. We're gonna lynch, this witch, and it's like, oh, that sounds really terrific. What time? Right.
You don't need to bring. Yeah, I was gonna say you don't need to bring the orange wedges as you're
getting a red card.
For real.
That is just such. In the movie Hellbender, because we have not seen it yet. Do you guys have original music that you have performed in the movie?
We do, yeah. It's all original music from our band Hellbender, but all these are sixes, and we're on Spotify and Apple Music and everything, and we're actually gonna release the soundtrack for Hellbender on vinyl in the next month or two.
Oh, cool.
Oh, on vinyl. I have a daughter who collects vinyl. She's like, Dad, isn't this cool? I'm like, sure. I have thousands of them upstairs in the attic. But
maybe she can have one.
I'm amazed you hasn't raided your attic yet. Come on, that is pretty cool.
They're all warped from the heat.
A lot of them are. I have such a bizarre collection. Like if you can randomly dig and you'd be like, oh, here's a little Slade. Here's some Poison. Here's the Pointer Sisters. I have my taste growing up was all over them.
That sounds pretty awesome. I think you got something special there.
think I have Eddie Murphy's album up in here somewhere.
All my albums were sold, unfortunately, for nefarious reasons. So that's too bad. I always look back, boy, what a knucklehead.
Yeah. And back then, probably didn't get much for them.
I sure didn't, but yeah, that'll be another podcast. We'll talk about that.
Yeah, we'll spin off.
Remember the late 80s?
No,
actually, I sold my record collection just to forget it.
The 80s were the greatest ever. Zelda, I'm sorry you didn't get to grow up in it. There will be no better decade in human history.
I try to live it through John and Toby, so.
Well, look, you're living like an awesome life.
Cinderella's not a fairy tale character to us.
That's right.
So I guess we need to wrap this up. Just real quick, like, we're all horror freaks here. You mentioned Hereditary. What are some of your favorite horror movies? The old favorites or ones that kind of changed things for you?
Some of mine are, I love Midsommar. I love The Descent. And I love Coraline. I think Coraline's a horror movie, to be honest.
Oh, God, that movie's terrifying.
It's
really.
How about you, Tobe?
I love The Witch. I always can watch The Witch. I love Basket Case. To me, that is
Belial.
the freakiest, weirdest, sleaziest movie, and I love it. I'm a big Midsommar fan as well. And I like the really, really old stuff. Like, we watched Vampire, the one from 1933 maybe, and that was beautiful. That was we only recently discovered that. Man, that was a cool film.
Yeah, I mean, my favorite horror movies always change. But today I'm gonna go with I think the one that really had a massive effect on me, and that's Phantasm. I was 12. My soccer coach took me to Phantasm, and I didn't sleep for a year afterwards. And I vowed that when I had children, I would scare the hell out of them too.
Good for you.
Show it to us.
No, I haven't showed you Phantasm.
No.
Toby and I just rewatched it, and it's interesting because it scared me so much that I hadn't rewatched it, and I was like, you know what? I should go back and visit Phantasm just to see like what that 12-year-old kid saw, and it was exceptional.
I think they're all on Shudder. I know they were at one point not too long ago.
We'll have to go watch the rest of them because I heard actually Phantasm 2 is supposed to be quite good. I've never seen it. I only know Phantasm 1.
Phantasm 2 is supposed to be better.
I just recently watched 1 and 2. And 2 is, you need to watch it. It's something else.
Oh, great. Okay, good.
What are yours, you guys?
I was going to tell you, I would suggest you see The House of the Devil. It's from 2007. It's that's one of my favorites. By far.
I think we saw it a while ago.
We watched House of the Devil. Can you just remind us about
It's Jocelyn Donahue plays a college student who was hired to babysit this old couple.
Yes.
Who want to go see the eclipse.
Yes.
Cool.
I watch that movie twice a year, every year since it came out. I love it. It has such a 70s feel, even though it's an aughts movie. Jack and I love I'm wearing the Thing lounge pants right now. Love the Thing.
Me too. I mean, that's pure perfection. Like, the deeper you dig, the Thing, we wanted to shoot in the winter because of the Thing. You know, the cold isolation and the paranoia of the Thing is done exceptionally well. The other thing that's done exceptionally well is the normalcy of those guys living in this scientific spot. Like, you believe it. They're drinking coffee and playing chess, computer chess, and doing all these things. And the guy has a relationship with the dogs. There's all these like wonderful little nuances that are so real that you buy in. And that's why it's so terrifying.
What that movie does better than I think any movie has done, it takes all these characters and they are very definitive people that you connect with. You walked out of that movie, you knew all their names.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know the names of half the people I work with.
Right.
But that movie, I walked out, I was like, oh yeah, I want to be this. I want to be Knowles and stuff like that. So great job with that. I'll tell you another movie that I love, that if you have seen it or not, It Follows.
Oh yeah, It
Yeah,
Follows is
cool.
really fun.
Yeah, I love that.
Very, very good one. I'll say something about The Thing also that somebody brought up recently, and I agree with it, is Aliens, the beginning of Aliens also does that, where you know all the characters too. They wake up from their slumber pods and they sit and they pour coffee and smoke cigarettes while they're eating cereal. And you very quickly know their personalities and their names and their banter, and you're in and you feel like part of the crew. Like that stuff is so good. I think that the Descent does that pretty well too.
Oh, The Descent.
Yes.
The girls in the cabin, like they're driving out to the car, they're doing all this stuff, then they're sitting around laughing at each other's pajamas, and they're doing all these things. And by the time they get to the hole, you know all of the characters and you like them and you know their personalities really well. That's great.
And you're invested in them.
Yes.
You have people you want to see live and people you maybe want to see die.
Yeah.
Right.
A movie.
However,
Okay.
Oh, go ahead. Now I'm talking too much. I'm sorry.
No, go ahead. Finish.
Don't get me started on horror movies.
What I want to say is one of my all-time favorite horror movies, and movies, regardless of being horror, is An American Werewolf in London. And the other day, I was at my parents' house, and my father had just mentioned, like, I want to watch a movie. He was like, yeah, I want to watch something scary. And I said, have you ever seen American Werewolf in London? He goes, I don't know. So I said, it's one of my favorite movies. Let's watch it. And he's not a horror freak, whatever. So we start watching it, and he's laughing, and he's like really engaged with it. My mom's like, what the hell are you two up to? And at one point, she just comes in and sits down and everything. And I couldn't believe my mother started watching this movie and was like laughing and stuff. And I'm like, see, this movie is amazing. It's a great horror movie, but it's a great character piece, great use of humor. And there's not an ounce of fat on that movie. It gets A to B to C, and you're out.
Yeah.
And it's also wildly sad.
Yes.
I mean, it's so freaking sad. By the end of it, it's like, oh, that's so sad.
He calls his family.
It's how it connects with the original Wolfman, because he did not want to be the Wolfman. He was miserable about it. Don't revel in murdering people on the moon is full. Well, some people might.
And Your Next is another one is that like Dark Horse.
I don't know that.
What happens in that?
Oh,
that's Barbara Crampton's return in that 2013.
That's like a group of people they're like in an area like where you live, out in the woods at their like vacation home, and it's a home invasion movie. But then it's also sort of the final girl fights back.
Oh, nice.
Sharni Vincent's the best final girl of all time.
If you haven't seen it, you'll thank me later. Great movie.
Great. We're putting it on the list.
Cool.
When that movie came out, my dad had passed away, and my mom was living in this big house by herself and had this fear of people breaking into the house. And the first movie I take her to without knowing I'm joking, Jack, is It Follows. And I have this poor woman, recently widowed, freaking the hell out on this home invasion movie. I just kept going, that can't happen, right? At least not like
Bad
that.
Son. Bad son.
That was like my dad. I got my dad to take me and a friend to Fast Times at Ridgemont High, and he was so not happy at the end of that. Like, I can't believe you let me take you and your Catholic friend to see that.
My dad took us to movies all the time. He was a big movie buff. That's how I got the bug. For Easter, we had a movie theater 2 blocks down from us. So for Easter, we went to see the movie Hardcore with George C. Scott, where he's looking for his lost teenage daughter who's gotten into the porn industry.
Oh my God.
This is on Easter, we're watching this movie. And I was 10, and I think my sister was 6.
I have to say,
my father paid for it. We were staying for it.
My mom was pretty cool about movies. She, back in the 70s, a movie called The Warriors came out, and it was banned around New York because of gang stuff. And before it was banned, it came out, it's going to be banned. And she was like, well, if a movie's going to be banned, we're going to go watch it. And she took us, we must have been 9 or 10. And she took us all to go watch The Warriors, and it was exceptional. I remember being like, wow, that's a great movie. And the next day I cut off my jacket sleeves and started lifting weights. I just wanted to be like the Warriors. So they were right. Maybe it should be banned.
Look, if you ever want to meet them, come with me and Jack to the Chiller Theater Convention in Parsippany, New Jersey in October. There's at least always 2 of them there.
That's cool. That is so cool.
You can put the bottles on your fingers and tap them around and they'll look good.
We drink enough beers there that we always have empties ready for that.
Plenty of empties. All right. I think we're going to let you go. I know it's late. You guys have been phenomenal. It's been such a pleasure talking to all of you.
It's been great.
We could talk horror with you all night. So thank you so much. Just like for the fun conversation and questions. And thank you so much.
Yeah. Hey, anytime you want to talk horror, give us a call.
Absolutely.
We'll come up there and we'll meet you.
Well, Hunter, you got their info. We'll send you ours, and once we get to watch the movie, we'll let you know how much we loved it.
Yeah.
Can't wait for your thoughts. Can't wait for your thoughts.
We do another show called Final Guys, where it's really a movie review show. So we'll feature it on one of the episodes for sure.
Sweet.
Thank you so much, you guys. It's really nice to talk with you tonight.
Yeah, you guys are great. Just keep it up. I mean, really, this is what we need in horror, because
thank you.
We need people who are doing quality work that looks good, sounds good, just is good. And you guys are. I mean, I'm so impressed. I'm so upset with my family because they won't do this kind of stuff with me. So thanks. You've ruined my family for really.
You're nice. Thank you.
Monster Man. Monster Man.